You call it your paycheck because the money enters your account. But look at what happens next. The landlord already has an order for it. Debt has an order for it. Your subscriptions have orders. Your appetite has orders. Your need to look successful has orders. And whatever survives gets ambushed by the emergency you never prepared for. Then you repeat the cycle and call yourself independent because technically you earned the money. That is not command. A man is not financially powerful because money passes through his hands. He becomes powerful when he can decide what money protects, what it destroys, what it builds, and what he refuses to fund. If losing one paycheck can force you to tolerate a life you hate, your income is not yet freedom. It is permission rented 1 month at a time. And there is one number hiding beneath your paycheck that exposes whether you command money or whether money already commands you. The first law of money command is simple. Money without orders eventually gives orders to you, because money does not wait for your maturity. It does not wait for your discipline. It does not wait until you feel ready to become strategic. If you do not assign it a mission, someone else will. The bill will. The creditor will. The subscription will. The restaurant will. The impulse will. The status game will. The emergency will. Reality has no sympathy for men who confuse earning with control. And this is especially dangerous for men who are unsupported. If you have parents who can rescue you, a spare room you can return to, family money behind you, useful introductions, or someone willing to absorb your mistakes, disorder is expensive, but it may not destroy you immediately. Someone may catch the fall. Someone may soften the consequence. Someone may give you time to recover. But if you are the man who already knows that nobody is coming, then weak structure is not just a mistake. It is exposure. You do not get to be casual with money and still call yourself serious about freedom. You do not get to say you are building a loan while spending as if rescue is part of the plan. You do not get to complain that society ignores you while your own paycheck obeys everyone except you. This video is exclusive for members because I am not here to sell comfort. I am here to give you a doctrine. If you are paying to be here, then you are not paying for motivation. You are paying to be confronted with the truth before life charges you a higher price for avoiding it. Most men want money because they want relief. They want the feeling that pressure will disappear. They want the appearance of progress. They want the small luxury, the nicer room, the better clothes, the visible signal that tells the world they are no longer behind. But relief is not command. Appearance is not command. Income is not command. Before John D. Rockefeller controlled one of the largest industrial fortunes in history, he was an assistant bookkeeper. His family had lived in modest circumstances. He left school. He studied bookkeeping. He searched for work. According to the Rockefeller Archive Center, he worked for months before receiving his first pay. And what did Rockefeller do before the empire existed? He kept records, detailed records. His early ledgers still exist. He tracked what he spent, what he invested, what he loaned, and what he was owed. Before he had industrial power, he had financial visibility. Before he commanded a fortune, he commanded the facts in front of him. By the year 1859, he had saved $1,000 and combined it with another $1,000 borrowed from his father to enter his first business partnership. The empire came later. The first evidence was command. He knew what existed. He knew where it moved. He knew what could be used. He accumulated enough controlled capital to create an option. That is the lesson most ambitious men avoid because it is not glamorous. Before money becomes leverage, it must become visible. A man who refuses to look at his numbers is not being optimistic. He is choosing blindness with a confident voice. Machiavelli understood why changing an old order is difficult. In The Prince, He describes the danger and difficulty of introducing a new order of things. That is exactly what you are doing when you begin to command money. Your old financial order already has loyal subjects. Impulse is loyal to the old order. Convenience is loyal to the old order. Status is loyal to the old order. Avoidance is loyal to the old order. Debt is loyal to the old order. Lifestyle is loyal to the old order. They will not surrender quietly because they have been feeding from your weakness for years. They know your patterns. They know when you are tired. They know when you are ashamed. They know when you feel behind. They know when you want to buy the feeling of progress because the evidence of progress is still missing. This is where most men lie to themselves. They say, "I just need to earn more." No. More income can help, but income does not automatically create control. Here is the false belief: as long as I keep earning, I am financially in control. That belief is poison because it feels responsible while hiding the real weakness. Earning means money enters. Command means money receives deliberate orders. Control means you still possess meaningful choices after your obligations are paid. Imagine two men. One man earns $4,000 a month and requires $3,950 simply to keep his current life functioning. The other earns less, but he has margin, lower obligations, reserves, and the ability to reject unnecessary spending. Which one has the higher salary? The first. Which one may have greater freedom of movement? The second. Because the world sees salary. Pressure sees margin. Your employer sees your wage. Your friends see your lifestyle. Your family sees whether you look stable. Social media sees the signal. But pressure does not care what you appear to earn. Pressure asks a colder question. How much room do you actually have before fear starts making decisions for you? Even the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does not define financial well-being by income alone. Its research emphasizes control over monthly finances, the capacity to absorb shocks, progress toward goals, and freedom of choice. That language is calm. Mine is not. But the mechanism is the same. Money is valuable because of the choices it protects, and the lack of it becomes dangerous when it begins choosing for you. In the Federal Reserve Household Survey from 2025, only 63% of adults said they could cover a hypothetical $400 emergency entirely with cash or its equivalent. 30% said they could not cover 3 months of expenses through emergency savings, other savings, borrowing, or selling assets. So understand what this means. Many people look stable until reality asks for proof. They look employed, they look functional, they look normal. They can pay bills as long as nothing interrupts the rhythm. But one emergency, one missed paycheck, one medical bill, one car repair, one job disruption, one family demand, one debt shock, and suddenly the truth appears. They were not commanding money. They were being carried by timing. And timing is not sovereignty. Before you continue, download the attached image and the Money Command Declaration file. Do it now, not later. Keep it open while you listen, because this lesson is not meant to entertain you. It is meant to force one measurable action. By the end, you will name where money has been controlling you instead of serving your command. Do not turn this into philosophy. Do not admire the language and remain unchanged. The unsupported man does not need more dramatic thoughts about power. He needs evidence that his life is becoming harder to control from the outside. Now look at what actually happens when money enters the life of a financially reactive man. There are 5 levels competing for command. First comes survival, housing, food, utilities, transport. Reality speaks first. There is nothing immoral about this. A man must live. But survival becomes dangerous when it consumes so much of his income that every other part of his future becomes negotiable. Second comes the past, debt, installments, contracts, recurring commitments. Decisions made months or years ago continue issuing orders to today's income. This is why debt is not only a financial issue, it is a time issue, a status issue, a sovereignty issue. The past reaches forward and collects tribute before your future even enters the room. Third comes emotion, stress, boredom, convenience, impulse, reward. You had a bad day, so money pays for relief. You feel behind, so money buys a temporary identity. You feel lonely, so money buys distraction. You feel exhausted, so money buys convenience. And because each purchase seems small, you do not notice the larger pattern. Your emotions are not asking for your permission. They are quietly voting with your money. Fourth comes status. The phone, the car, the clothes, the restaurant, the visible signal. The purchase whose real purpose is not utility, but perception. You feel behind, so you purchase the appearance of progress. This is one of the most humiliating forms of financial weakness, because it disguises itself as confidence. You tell yourself you are rewarding yourself. You tell yourself you deserve it. You tell yourself people will respect you more if you look like you are moving up. But if the purchase weakens your ability to build real margin, then it did not increase your status. It made you easier to control. And only after survival, the past, emotion, and status have taken their share, then comes the future. Savings, defense, skill, assets, opportunity, leverage. Notice the hierarchy. For the financially reactive man, his future receives whatever his appetite, past decisions, current identity, and need for perception leave behind. And then he wonders why his future is weak. He wonders why he cannot leave the job. He wonders why every emergency feels personal. He wonders why discipline is hard to maintain. He wonders why his ambition feels trapped inside a life that never gives him enough room to move. Machiavelli observed in a very different political context that men are often subject to present necessities. That phrase matters, because present pressure has a way of colonizing future decisions. When the present is always demanding payment, the future becomes a beggar, and a man whose future begs for leftovers will eventually resent his own life. Modern behavioral research gives this a colder layer. Researchers Anandi Mani, Senthil Mullainathan, Eldar Shafir, and Jiaying Zhao found that financial scarcity itself can consume cognitive resources. In one study, bringing financial problems to mind reduced cognitive performance among lower-income participants. In another, the same farmers performed worse before harvest when money was scarce than after harvest. That is not an excuse for weak decisions, it is a warning. Chaos creates more chaos because financial pressure consumes attention that could have been used to escape it. The weaker your margin becomes, the more expensive your mistakes become. The more expensive your mistakes become, the more afraid you become. The more afraid you become, the easier you are to command. And this creates the next question. What does money actually buy before it buys anything? The first thing money buys is not a product. It buys decision space. That is the part most men miss because they have been trained to think about money only as purchasing power. They think money is for buying things, impressing people, upgrading lifestyle, escaping boredom, or proving they are no longer where they started. But the deeper function of money is not consumption. The deeper function of money is command under pressure. Money gives a disciplined man time before he is forced to react. When he has margin, he does not have to accept every demand immediately. He does not have to say yes because rent is hunting him. He does not have to take the first offer because panic is already inside his chest. Time is not abstract. Time is the space between pressure and surrender. Money gives a disciplined man distance. Distance from a bad employer. Distance from a desperate negotiation. Distance from a destructive living situation. Distance from people who know he cannot leave and therefore treat his endurance as weakness. A man with no distance must keep explaining. A man with distance can make decisions. Money gives a disciplined man defense. An unexpected cost appears, and it does not instantly become catastrophe. A repair does not become humiliation. A delay does not become begging. A medical bill does not become total collapse. Defense is not glamorous, but it is one of the first foundations of sovereignty. Money gives a disciplined man optionality. He can choose between several moves instead of accepting the only move desperation leaves available. He can wait, he can decline, he can invest, he can relocate, he can learn, he can negotiate, he can walk away. This is what I mean when I call money power. Not superiority, not domination over another person, not luxury. The power to remain deliberate when pressure wants you reactive. That is financial command. And this is why high income alone is insufficient. A large paycheck without a command system can become a larger cage. Bigger income can fund bigger obligations. Bigger obligations can create bigger fear. Bigger fear can make a man tolerate conditions he once promised himself he would escape. This is where Dalio becomes useful as an example, not because you should worship rich men, but because pressure reveals systems. In 1982, Dalio had built Bridgewater, but he made an enormous macroeconomic call that went wrong. He lost money. His clients lost money. He had to let his people go. He became so financially exposed that he later said he had to borrow $4,000 from his father to pay family bills. That was humiliation. That was pressure. That was a man being forced to look at the cost of his own decision structure. But what did he do with it? He did not merely say, "I need more confidence." He changed his decision system. Instead of asking only, "Why am I right?" he began asking, "How do I know I am right?" He sought intelligent disagreement. He stress-tested assumptions. He became more serious about risk and diversification. The first proof was not the billions that came decades later. The first proof was a new operating system. Pressure became structure. That is financial command, not never making mistakes. Building systems so one mistake does not own your future. Most men do the opposite. They make one mistake and then create a personality around the damage. They call themselves unlucky. They call themselves misunderstood. They say nobody helped them. Sometimes that is true. But truth does not erase consequence. You may have had less support. You may have had fewer options. You may have started behind. But if your money has no system, your story will not protect you. Now we get to you, the unsupported man. And I want to remove one fantasy immediately. Having no support does not make you superior. It makes weak systems more expensive. A supported man may have parents who can cover an emergency, a spare room when things collapse, a family business, a professional introduction, capital, connections, someone who catches the mistake. Maybe you have none of that. Fine. Then stop behaving financially as though rescue is part of the plan. You do not need paranoia, you need precision. Machiavelli repeatedly distrusted power that existed only through the fortune or forces of other people. His colder standard was that durable security should depend on yourself and your valor. Translate that carefully into money. Not complete isolation, not refusing intelligent help, not pretending networks are useless. It means your basic financial stability cannot exist only because someone else might rescue you. No one coming does not make you powerful. Building as though no one is coming does. Machiavelli makes the principle sharper elsewhere. The man who has relied least on fortune is established the strongest. That is the game. Reduce the amount of your life that requires luck. Reduce the amount of your future that depends on perfect timing. Reduce the amount of your dignity that collapses when one person says no. Reduce the amount of your ambition that needs someone else to approve it, finance it, rescue it, or believe in it before it becomes real. Because the unsupported man pays a higher price for disorder. If your car breaks down, there may be no family member quietly fixing the problem. If your job cuts hours, there may be no backup account waiting. If rent rises, there may be no safe room prepared for you. If your business attempt fails, there may be no investor, no uncle, no inherited network, no soft landing. This is not an invitation to self-pity. It is a command to grow sharper. You say, no one is coming. Then build your finances like you actually believe it. So how do we begin? Not with stocks, not with crypto, not with passive income fantasies, not with pretending you are an investor while your basic finances are invisible. Not with talking like a strategist while your bank account is governed by habit, memory, mood, pressure, and avoidance. The money command system begins with 5 commands: measure, direct, defend, eliminate, build. Measure kills financial blindness. Direct kills impulse. Defend kills panic. Eliminate kills the past. Build kills dependence. The first command is measure. Know what exists. Money coming in, money going out, debt, obligations, assets, leaks, interest, subscriptions, recurring payments, unplanned spending, emotional spending, status spending, the money you think you have, the money you actually have, the money that disappears because you never forced it to stand in front of you and be counted. You cannot command what you refuse to see. A man who does not measure his money does not have a financial strategy. He has a mood. Some months he feels safe. Some months he feels anxious. Some days he believes he is improving. Some days he feels trapped. But feelings are not records. Anxiety is not evidence. Ambition is not a ledger. The second command is direct. Decide where money goes before emotion decides for you. The goal is not restriction. The goal is hierarchy. A weak man hears discipline and imagines punishment. A strategic man hears discipline and sees rank. Not every desire deserves equal authority. Not every bill deserves to exist forever. Not every convenience deserves access to your future. Not every emotional state deserves a financial vote. Direct means money receives orders before the world places orders on it. This amount protects survival. This amount builds defense. This amount attacks debt. This amount develops skill. This amount buys tools. This amount creates proof. This amount is allowed for enjoyment because controlled enjoyment is not the enemy. Uncommanded appetite is the enemy. The third command is defend. Build the ability to absorb pressure, because a man who collapses at the first unexpected expense does not possess financial sovereignty yet. He may possess ambition. He may possess potential. He may possess rage. He may possess a vision. But if one surprise expense can force him into panic, then his future is still poorly defended. Defense is not cowardice. Defense is the wall that gives your ambition time to become real. The fourth command is eliminate. Destroy financial claims that weaken tomorrow's choices. Debt is not always evil, but toxic obligation is a chain. Every payment that exists because of an old impulse is the past taxing the future. Every recurring cost you forgot about is a small servant of disorder. Every status purchase financed by insecurity becomes a quiet insult to the man you claim you are becoming. Every toxic obligation you destroy gives part of the future back to you. The fifth command is build. Surplus must eventually become something. Skill, proof, assets, income capacity, leverage. Money that only sits can defend you, but money that is commanded can also strengthen you. It can buy books, tools, courses, software, equipment, coaching, travel to opportunity, time to practice, time to produce, time to recover, and time to think. It can help convert private ambition into visible evidence. But build comes last for a reason, because men love to skip to building before they can measure. They want investments before visibility. They want leverage before defense. They want assets before discipline. They want the identity of a wealthy man before the behavior of a commanded man. That is why they remain vulnerable. So, remember the chain: measure, direct, defend, eliminate, build. That is the money command system. And today, I'm not asking you to master all five. I'm asking you to stop lying about whether command currently exists. Because the number that matters is not merely your paycheck, it is how much money remains under your command after reality has collected its share. That number is controlled surplus, not fantasy surplus, not the amount you think you should have, not the amount you would have if you stopped making excuses, not the amount you mention when you want to feel responsible. Controlled surplus is the portion that survives obligations and can be deliberately assigned. It is money with no master until you give it one. If your income rises but every increase becomes a larger lifestyle, controlled surplus does not grow. Your salary rises, but sovereignty stays frozen. You look more successful, but your ability to refuse, defend, invest, and build may not improve. That is how a man can make more money and remain just as trapped. He upgraded the cage. He did not command the system. This is why the paycheck is not the real proof. The real proof is what remains after reality has taken its share, and whether that remainder obeys strategy or appetite. Now I want you to answer 5 questions. Do not answer emotionally. Answer with evidence. If your income stopped temporarily, how quickly would panic enter your decisions? Can you tell me where last month's money actually went? Not approximately. Actually. Does debt currently determine decisions you wish belonged to you? Do you spend money to solve problems, or do you sometimes spend money to temporarily solve feelings? Stress, loneliness, boredom, the need to look successful, the need to feel like your life is finally moving. What would you stop tolerating if you had real financial margin? A job, a living arrangement, a debt cycle, a desperate negotiation, a dependency. Do not answer me. Answer the evidence, because vague discomfort is useless until it becomes a named dependency. A man says, "I am bad with money." That means nothing. It is too vague to fight. It gives you no target. It creates shame without strategy. It makes you feel guilty while allowing the real enemy to remain hidden. Precision is different. Precision says, "I stay in a job I hate because I have no financial runway." Precision says, "Debt receives part of my income before my future does." Precision says, "I use purchases to look more successful than my financial structure actually is." Precision says, "I cannot explain where last month's money went." Precision says, "I buy relief when I should be building defense." Precision says, "I let convenience tax my future because I am too tired to plan." Now there is a target. Now there is an enemy. Now command can begin. This is your second required action. Download the Money Command Declaration and complete it before you move forward. Write 1 page answering this question. Where has money been controlling me instead of serving my command? At the top of the page, write the question exactly. Then identify the control. What currently has authority over you? Name the bill, name the debt, name the behavior, name the fear. Name the dependency. Name the decision you keep avoiding because the money is not yet under command. Then identify the cost. What has this weakness already taken from you? Money, time, options, sleep, respect for yourself, a business opportunity, the ability to walk away, the ability to think clearly, the ability to say no without fear entering your voice. Name it. Then identify the first command. What must now change? Not 20 things. 1. Because this course is not going to reward the man who writes the most dramatic confession, it rewards the man who produces evidence. Your old identity says, I need more money before I can become free. The stronger identity says, I must learn to command what already touches my hands. That sentence must replace the old belief. Because if you cannot command small money, larger money may only enlarge the disorder. If you cannot direct a few hundred, you may misdirect a few thousand. If you cannot protect a small margin, you may destroy a larger one. If you cannot measure reality now, you will not magically become strategic when the numbers grow. This is not about becoming obsessed with money. It is about refusing to let money become the hidden government of your life. Because that is what unmanaged money becomes. A government. It tells you where you can live. It tells you what disrespect you must tolerate. It tells you which opportunities are too risky. It tells you which emergencies become humiliations. It tells you how long you must remain dependent. It tells you how quietly you must negotiate. It tells you how much of your ambition must wait. And then, if you are not careful, you begin to call that obedience maturity. No. Maturity is not surrender to financial disorder. Maturity is command. You measure it, you direct it, you defend it, you eliminate what owns too much of your future. Then you turn surplus into proof and leverage. That is how money stops being something that happens to you. But there is a problem. You cannot command what you cannot see. And most men who claim they are managing money cannot tell you with precision what they own, what they owe, what they spend, what interest they pay, what subscriptions are draining them, or how much money actually survives the month. They have opinions, they have anxiety, they have ambition, they do not have proof. And a man who refuses to measure reality has no right to call himself financially strategic. That ends now. Because the next enemy is not low income, it is financial blindness. The colder question is this: what does your financial reality say about the man you claim to be? Not the man you imagine, not the man you explain, not the man you hope people will recognize, the man your records prove. Measure the money, command the money, build anyway.